Did Iran fall into Netanyahu's trap, or did it force America to kneel? What happened in the Strait of Hormuz and at Kuwait airport today is not a coincidence. It is a strategic shift that will change the face of the region forever. Today, we will talk about the truth behind this shocking strike that shook 5 countries at once. Why is Trump insisting on signing the agreement despite all this destruction, despite all this escalation or this Iranian response? Are we really living in this reality today? The last dance before signing the agreement? We have all these details for you today, but after this break, stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to this special meeting with us today, God willing. As part of our opinion series, which we always dedicate to following the latest developments and updates of this global conflict taking place in the Middle East between Iran and the Epstein Alliance. Today, dear viewers, it is clear that we are witnessing the final hours before the signing of the truce agreement between Iran and America, because today was a very intense 6th day. In the Middle East region, and specifically in the Gulf area, there was a very serious escalation, dramatic events, but all of them, as I will explain to you, came only as the last escalation, perhaps before the signing of the agreement. Iran knows very well that Trump is in a real predicament. He cannot go back to war again. The agreement has reached its final stages. So Iran used all the agreements and all this power in this devastating Iranian response that happened today. So, dear viewers, the events exactly began when America targeted an Iranian oil tanker with an air-launched missile near the Strait of Hormuz. This attack caused damage to the engine room of this ship. So, Iran, despite the naval blockade imposed on it by America, its oil exports have not stopped completely. We discussed this in several previous episodes, which means that Iran had, as I explained to you earlier, special maritime routes through which it exported this oil without any interference from the US Navy. This means that America can't intercept these ships, or at least it's difficult for it to intercept all the ships exporting Iranian oil. What happened is that America targeted this Iranian oil tanker from the air, and this happened exactly last night. Of course, Iran did not remain silent. In response to that, the Iranian Navy targeted an American cargo ship named Banaya with missiles. So it was a tit-for-tat response. America strikes an Iranian oil tanker, and Iran responds by striking an American cargo or shipping vessel. So what did America do here? America escalated the situation and struck a communications tower belonging to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard on Qeshm Island, which is located deep in the Strait of Hormuz, overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. So here, what no one expected at all was that the Iranian response at that time was decisive and shocking at the same time. For America and the Epstein coalition, it was a shocking and earth-shattering response. Honestly, because even though the American strike was a minor strike, it only targeted a single communications tower. However, the Iranian response included almost all the countries in the region, all the American military bases in the area, and it happened all at once. Iran struck the headquarters of the US 5th Fleet located in Bahrain. They struck other American military bases in Kuwait, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, as well as in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. But the strongest strikes were on these 3 countries in particular, Kuwait, the UAE, and Bahrain. Some reports said that the strike involved 100 missiles, drones, to the extent that the passenger terminal at Kuwait airport was hit by a missile, resulting in the death of 1 person and injuring dozens of civilians, according to what was announced. And it led to the suspension of all flights to and from Kuwait up until now. No one knows how this strike hit the civilian airport in Kuwait. Was it really an Iranian missile, or was it a Kuwaiti interceptor missile that failed to intercept the Iranian missiles and fell on this building? Or was it just shrapnel from an Iranian missile that fell on this building? Or was it an Israeli missile that hit this building with the aim of causing discord between the two countries, between Kuwait and Iran? So Iran hasn't clarified yet and hasn't admitted, that it targeted this airport, but anything is possible in this situation. The Iranian response was truly shocking for the Epstein alliance. Even though Iran, as I explained to you in yesterday's episode, was warning America that any attack on Iran would be met with a crushing response, different from what happened before. Despite this warning, in reality, no one actually believed that the response could reach this level of ferocity. Pay close attention. In the past, we used to see assassinations of high-ranking Iranian leaders and attacks and bombings deep in the capital, Tehran, and the Iranian response would be, we could say, merely symbolic. They would send some missiles, some drones that were easily intercepted, and everything would end there. And this would happen after a prior announcement to the public that they would strike on a certain day, at a certain hour, or an hour later, or half an hour later today. The Iranian response is completely different. America attacks a small island in the Strait of Hormuz, and then the Iranian response hits 4 or 5 countries at once, causing significant damage and losses. 2 days ago, we saw how the Iranian response, which targeted just one American military base, caused a huge uproar in America, because this incident caused human casualties among the American forces, and this was acknowledged by American newspapers. They were the ones who revealed this today. Iran strikes more than 5 American military bases at once, so there are definitely casualties. But of course, there will be no attempt to admit that now. Maybe this acknowledgement will come in the next few hours, maybe after a few days, or maybe it won't be admitted until the end of this war. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard said it clearly. We have previously warned that any act of aggression will be met with a different and more severe response. He said that the response you saw today should be a lesson for others. He said that any disruption to security in the Strait of Hormuz will come at a high cost for America and any aggressor. The Iranian Tasnim news agency also reported a statement by a member of the National Security Committee in the Iranian parliament, in which he said that America only understands the language of force. He said the Iranian response to any possible aggression must be stronger than this. What you saw today is something simple, maybe something else stronger than this will come. He said that deterrence can only be achieved by demonstrating military power. This statement exactly reflects the current atmosphere, meaning today among the leaders and in the Iranian political and military institutions, everyone today in Iran. They are aware that what happened should not be repeated, and that what happened should be properly leveraged today to achieve these Iranian goals and conditions. Getting out of this crisis that the Iranian people have suffered from since the success of the Islamic Revolution, since the establishment of this regime in Iran. Sanctions, blockades, and wars rain down on Iran every time. Despite that, they haven't taken anything from this country. The country is developed, the people civilized, and their social conditions are better than many Arab countries that never had such things. No sanctions, no wars, nothing like that at all. So today, Iran wants to take advantage of this victory it achieved in this war, and to make use of these changes happening in the world in order to get out of this situation. And today, if Iran gets out of this situation, it will become a major power in the region, because as I said, Iran has developed, even though it was under siege, sanctions, tension, wars, and so on. So what if this siege and these sanctions were lifted from Iran today? It will definitely become a major power in the region, because now it has the foundation, it has an industrial base, it has a military base, and what else does it need? It needs a strong economy, it needs money, and that's why we find there are those who are ready to bow down, to submit, to offer money, bribes, and so on, just so that these sanctions remain imposed on Iran. So for the sanctions that we see today, these developments that happen today, this serious escalation, he might think that the truce is over, he might think that the war has returned again, and that the agreement or these negotiations have collapsed. That's it. But in reality, America absolutely cannot return to war now, despite everything that has happened. Trump did not talk about this. He did not say we will respond, we will strike, we will fix things or anything like that. Despite all this escalation and this decisive Iranian response, Trump made a statement saying that negotiations are ongoing, and he said that now is the time to sign an agreement with Iran by any means possible. This happened today. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the agreement will be signed today or tomorrow or next week is also possible. And yesterday Trump also said that the agreement will be signed next week, and this is the most likely scenario according to the majority. It is the most probable. This agreement might be signed a day or two before the start of the World Cup, this joint World Cup between the US, Canada and Mexico, which will begin on June 11. Trump also said today that Iran has agreed to abandon its nuclear program. This might be a sign that the agreement is close, because in this statement Trump made a number of false claims, as he often tries to widely promote such falsehoods, so that the US appears when it signs the agreement as if it is coming out victorious. Trump said that Iran is now without an air force, that it doesn't have naval power, and that it no longer has soldiers. Pay close attention, he said it no longer has soldiers. He also said that it doesn't have a leader, that it is without leadership. He said its economy is collapsing and that inflation has reached the level of 250. All of these are lies. Nevertheless, Trump keeps talking about it to cover up this failure and to make America appear victorious after signing the agreement. So, the Iranian economy is collapsing. Yes, it is collapsing, but not today, and not because of the war. It's because of the effects of the sanctions that have been imposed on it for many years. He says that it lacks leadership, while we see that Iran is full of leaders. These statements that we hear from time to time, Iran is a source of leaders, a source of charismatic personalities. The truth is, Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz today. So how could it control it if it didn't have naval forces? It's all lies. The purpose of this is to prepare for the announcement of the agreement signing. Despite everything that happened today, it's clear that the agreement is very close. Even the American website Al Monitor said, according to Israeli government sources, that Netanyahu now has no other option but to comply with Trump's demands. Meaning, he has no other solution but to accept and be satisfied with this upcoming agreement, with the terms of this upcoming agreement. Everyone knows that Netanyahu doesn't want any agreement with Iran except one of surrender and submission. That means Trump, Netanyahu has always taken escalatory steps to lead the region into more tension and to prevent both sides from reaching an agreement. But the Monitor website said today, according to these sources, that Netanyahu is now in trouble. That means he has no solution now except to comply with Trump's demands. So maybe it's true that Trump has recently become, a puppet in Netanyahu's hands. That's right, he imposes whatever he wants on him. But now it's clear that Trump is in a very difficult position. Even though he wants to fulfill Netanyahu's demands and supports him, he supports Netanyahu and supports Israel with all the power America has, but at the same time, today, he has reached a dead end regarding this issue with Iran. So here, everyone should pay attention. Trump has reached the conviction, or rather the necessity, that he must stop the war now by any means, because the continuation and prolongation of the war would be a disaster not only for America, but even for his own political future. The World Cup will fail, Trump's popularity at home is collapsing and will collapse even more, the midterm elections are approaching quickly, there is military exhaustion, so there are serious consequences for him and for America that force him to reach an agreement as soon as possible, today. Therefore, when the conversation that took place yesterday between Netanyahu and Trump in their phone call was revealed, in which Trump described Netanyahu as crazy, I personally believe that, even though there are people in America who say it's just an act, that their relationship is strong and so on, but I believed what was revealed. Because despite the strength and solidity of this relationship, there are still different interests. Trump reached a dead end. He had an interest that required him to sign this agreement. He was left with only two options. Either reach an agreement to restore security and lower oil prices. The World Cup succeeds in terms of organization and security, and then he tries to regain popularity before next November's elections. the days are passing quickly, or fulfill Netanyahu's desire to return to war, which would mean further destroying Trump's and the Republican Party's popularity, dragging the US military into greater attrition, collapse, maybe the collapse of the events of this World Cup, and in the end, America might suffer, meaning an even bigger and bigger loss. That's why Trump really needs to call Netanyahu crazy and make it clear to him that if it weren't for him, he would be in jail. Meaning, Netanyahu should return the favor this time by stopping the escalation in Lebanon and accepting the terms of this upcoming agreement, whatever they may be, because there is no other way. The situation is truly very complicated, and up until now we don't know if Netanyahu will actually accept this agreement or not, or if he will drag Trump into another war. And this could lead us to the scenario I talked about in the previous episode. Trump turning against Netanyahu. The situation is very complicated. In reality, the war still hasn't resumed, despite everything that has happened. The agreement hasn't been signed yet, but there are signs that bring us closer to this scenario, that there might be an agreement in the next few days. But at the same time, we don't know what Netanyahu is planning. Will he accept this or not? Because the agreement in reality is in Netanyahu's hands. Netanyahu's not in Trump's hands. Trump is probably just negotiating, preparing this document and signing it, but in the end, if Netanyahu doesn't agree, there won't be an agreement. So we'll see how things develop in the next few hours. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. See you next time.